Welcome back, everybody. I'm the programmer, and I'm here to teach you everything you need to know about coding to get a job. Today, I'm going to teach you about arrays. So if you're ready, put on your favorite tank top, grab yourself some a protein shake, and let's get started. Okay, so what is an array? Well, an array is a way to store a list of values in a single variable, okay? Instead of having to create separate variables for each item, we can just group them together. For example, let's say you want to make a grocery list, right? You're bulking, you need a bulk shake, so you got to keep in mind what you want to buy in the store. So you could type every single variable out and be like, okay, we can say list item 1, that's going to be, I guess, like some protein, powder. Then you're going to have to move to list item 2, and that's going to be something else, list item 3, etc, etc. And that's not very nice to work with. That's very confusing, doesn't work properly, it's stupid. So what we do is instead of making a bunch of separate variables, we create one. We can just create a list. And sometimes in other languages, an array is being referred to as a list. So those terms are being used synonymously. So if somebody talks about a list, then, they want you to make an array, okay? So, instead of making a bunch of different variables, we're going to create one. And to indicate that we're making a list, we're going to put down 2 brackets. Very easy. And then we can put our first item in there. We're going to go ahead and put protein powder in there. And the next item you're putting in the list is going to be separated by a comma. That's how you're telling the array, look, this is item number 1. And after the comma, you can put down your second item. In this case, let's put down banana! Banana! And then let's put down one final item. Let's put down milk. Perfect. There you go. And now I can go ahead and console log my list. And it's going to print out all of the things that I have defined in my variable. So, no more separate variables, you just put it all in one. Very easy, very straightforward. And by the way, it doesn't just have to be strings, you can put everything in there, right? I can, if I want to add a random value, maybe an integer or something, and put down a 3, I can do that. If I want to put down a boolean value like true or false, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to worry about mixing different data types, okay? So that's something to keep in mind for arrays. Another thing to keep in mind is something called indexing. Now, what is that exactly? Well, it's very straightforward. If I have my list, that's pretty cool. But what if I want to access only one element, only one item of the list? How do I do that exactly? Well, I can go ahead and console log. And again, I'm going to put down list, but instead of executing this and returning the entire list back, I'm going to open up some brackets and put down a 0 to get the first item of the list. Now, this is a point that is kind of confusing for a lot of people. Why are we putting down a 0 if we want to get the first index of the array? Well, don't question it. Don't question it. There's some technical stuff behind that. Don't worry about it. Just remember, an array starts with 0. Okay? So the first index protein powder is going to be 0. The second index banana is going to be 1. And the third index milk is going to be 2. It's straightforward, but you might need to get used to the fact that you have to do whatever number you have here and do that -1 to actually get the thing that you want. So if I execute this, I get protein powder. If I take 3 now, right? Let's say I don't know any better, right? I haven't been watching programmers videos, and I want to access milk, and I was like, okay, well, this is the 3rd one, so let's put down 3, and it's going to be undefined because you're stupid and you access something that you're not supposed to access. Instead of that, we're going to put down 2, and we get milk. There we go. Perfect. This is exactly what we want. But let's say you don't just want to access a specific index in the array. You want to change something in an array. How do you do that? How do you modify something within an array? Well, we can just refer back to the index and define it as something else. Very easy. You just go ahead, go back to list, you open up the brackets, and you put down the index of the element of the item that you want to change. So, let's say you're vegan, right? You want to change milk, you can have any milk. So, you're going to be a soy boy and change this one to soy milk. Right. There we go. Now, list index 2 is soy milk instead of milk. And I can show you that by simply console logging the list again. And there you go. It's soy milk this time instead of normal milk. What is another useful thing you can do with lists? Are there any handy functions you can use or something? Well, the answer is yes. The first one you need to know is the one called length. What does that one do? Please don't tell me you asked that question. It returns back the length of the list. If I'm console logging list, and I put down a dot, and I say length, then guess what it's going to return back to me? It's going to return back the length. Now, keep in mind, this length is 3. It counts starting from 1. So, 1, 2, 3. Right? If you're a smart guy who thinks, oh, well, you know, if I want to access the last index of a list, all I have to give as a parameter is simply the length, and then I access the last index of the list, right? I can just say, you know what, console log, and I say list, and I simply can put in there list.length. The length is 3, it's going to be end of the list, and that's going to return the last index, right? Wrong, this one is undefined, you dummy. You're trying to access something that doesn't exist, right? Don't make this mistake. Whenever you're doing something like this, you have to do length -1. Because you gotta keep the 0 in mind. I know, it's a bit of pain in the butt, but you gotta do it, so don't complain about it. Now it works. Okay, why does it work? Again, let's go through this very slowly. You're console logging the list, and you're trying to access a very specific index within the list. Okay, so the index, instead of saying 2, I mean, you might not know how long the list is. It could be 10, it could be 100, it could be 1,000. You don't really know. So you don't want to guess until you're at the end of the list. No, you're just going to grab the list length, which in this case is 3. And you're going to do that -1 to compensate for the 0 index. Okay? And then you get the end of the list. I hope that is clear. If not, just repeat that part over again. You know, experiment with it yourself. I mean, you're free to code. You can try whatever you want to. You don't just have to copy what I do. You can make your own fun list. You can make your steroids list. You can make your list of your favorite gym exercises. You can make a list of your favorite big booty Latinas. It doesn't matter. Just have some fun with this stuff, okay? That's what coding is about. It's about having fun and making a crap ton of money. And that is fun. Now that we know how to access the length, what else can we do with an array? Are there any other functions, or also known as methods, for these arrays? The answer is yes. The first one you need to know about is the push. What does that one do? Well, it simply adds an item at the end of the array. Let me demonstrate. List.push. And I'm going to open up some parentheses. And within these parentheses, I'm going to specify the item that I want to add at the end of the list. So, what else do we want in a protein shake? We got some protein powder, we got some bananas, we got some milk. I think we want some peanut butter. Now, there we go. If I'm going to console log my list again, we have peanut butter at the end of this list. And you might be asking right now, programmer, is this an actual protein shake that you make? And the answer is yes, this is all part of my bulk shake. I'm bulking right now, so we're putting all kinds of stuff in there. Let's go crazy. And the next thing you need to know is how to get rid of something at the end of the list, right? We just added something at the end of the list. Now we want to remove something from the end of the list. We want to just pop it away. So how do we do that? We simply go list pop. Open up some parentheses and then execute this. Now you don't need to specify what you're popping, right? In the push, we had to specify that we're going to push peanut butter. But in the pop, we don't have to specify, because it's just going to look at the last item in the array, and it's going to pop it off. And in this case, it's peanut butter. And you can actually save this value. Okay, if I'm now going to console log my list, peanut butter is gone. But if I push peanut butter back to my list, and this time I want to pop peanut butter, but I want to save it as a variable, you can do that. I'm just going to call it item to make it easy. And I'm going to say, well, that's going to be list.pop. And there you go. If I'm going to console log the item, it's going to be peanut butter, because that is the thing that I popped. Simple. Now we've been adding and removing stuff from the end. But what if you want to add something to the beginning? What do I do then, programmer? Well, this is what you do. You do something that is known as shifting and unshifting. And the way how you add something to the start is by unshifting. So if I go ahead and say list.unshift, and we're going to add another item, let's say oatmeal, and that's making my bulk shake complete actually. There we go. And I'm gonna go back to console log my list. Come on, give me the list, not my item. There we go. And we have oatmeal at the beginning, not at the end. If I want it at the end, I would have used push. But I don't want it at the end, because I'm trying to demonstrate something here. So we unshift it to the beginning. So what does shift do? It does the exact opposite. If I'm going to say list shift, and again, in this case, I don't have to put anything within the parentheses, because it's just going to remove or pop or shift the first index in the array. You don't have to specify what that is. Now there you go again. It's oatmeal. I can console log the list again, and oatmeal is gone. And again, The same things that apply to the pop apply to the shift. If I want to store this value in a variable, then I can do that, just like with the pop. And if we are going to continue on with arrays and some more complex things, you are going to use those things, okay? Especially in some coding interviews in the future, you need to know how this stuff works, okay? So get comfortable with this. Try some things out. Make your own lists. And those are pretty much the most important things that you need to know about arrays. I hope you like this video. If you do, put down a like, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. And I hope you're looking forward to the next episode. So take care, God bless, and goodbye.